It's the Friendly Fire Show, episode 164 for October 15th or 16th or 17th or something. I don't know. Middle of October. I'm one of your hosts, Steve Wright from Stevivor.
I am Ben Salter from Stevivor, and we're back for more Xbox Series X this week. You can finally talk about it.
I know. I feel like we're going to be doing something like every week, basically, until the launch of these consoles, which is cool. And there's some surprises coming up next week, which you can tell people at the end if you want to spoil it or if you want to save it. You can think about it for the next.
All right, I'll think about it.
All right. And if you're watching on video, hi, thanks for joining us. We had a whole bunch of people watch on video, which is weird. So that's why we're doing it again. You'll notice in my top corner, because I think I'm allowed to now. I don't know. I have the Xbox Series X there installed. The power button's on because it's turned on, and behind me you can see the menu.
Works.
Which
this
looks
is a real
exactly.
one.
Oh my god! Which looks
Not
exactly
one of those
like
fake ones you can see in Telstra. You've got a real one.
One of those plastic shells. No, it's proper. And the menu, the home screen, which is exactly like the Xbox home screen, except there's like some fancy animated swooshes. So, woo, there's a treat for you, people. Enjoy that. So, I guess I just talk a whole bunch and you can ask me questions, or how do you want to do this, Ben?
We'll get to that. I think first, we've had some very minor breaking news in that there was an absolute pre-order shambles, which I made a joke yesterday saying that there'll probably be a retailer stuff up, and long and behold, there was. So there was good news yesterday at time of recording, which was, what day is it now? Wednesday.
Thursday, Ben. Oh
Thursday
yeah, Wednesday.
now. But
Wednesday, yeah.
I'm talking about yesterday.
I gotcha. I'm here.
Yeah. Weirdly, at about 8 p.m., EB Games SMS'd and emailed a bunch of people saying your order for an Xbox Series X or a PS5 has been moved up the queue. You're now in Series Wave 1, which is launch day. So pretty exciting. Like, we haven't had any positive news, really. We've just had Target canceling me and everyone else, that type of stuff. JB Hi-Fi saying, no, you're not getting it.
Pretty much.
So, yeah, we hadn't had that. And then today, one day later, pretty much exactly 24 hours later, they've come out and said, sorry, we made a big error. That was only for Xbox. Like, PlayStation, all those people we emailed, we didn't mean to send that to you. You are still 2020, or some of you 2021. Sorry about that. So that's probably the biggest stuff up yet.
Well, some people, because people that had the email yesterday have emailed me yesterday saying, I got this email, I'm so excited. And some of them haven't gotten the email today yet. So it might be that some people on PS4 did get pushed ahead in the queue, but a lot of people weren't meant to. It's also new. I don't know. And no one with an Xbox email has received a follow-up today, at least. So that's what we know at the time of recording, which is about like close to 8 o'clock on Thursday night. So I'm sure tomorrow it'll change, and the day after that it'll change again, and it'll just keep doing that until the 10th and the 12th of November.
I think it makes sense from the point of view that at the very beginning, pretty much no one got an Xbox. Like, if you wanted a PlayStation and you were there on that first 2 hours of the pre-orders opening, you got one. Yeah. If you were there within 10 minutes of Xbox, you might have got one if the website didn't crash for you. So it made sense that there were extra Xboxes. I was a bit surprised when they did PlayStation. So yeah, this is what I kind of thought it was meant to be.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Anyhow,
so that's hilarious.
Another stuff up.
We also had
right.
We also had some news. If we're on the news, we might as well talk about Sony finally came through with the details of how PS4 backward compatibility will work, which was actually quite cool. Sort of. Like, there's still some question marks, but there's a lot more answers than we had compared to the same time last week. So 99% of games will work. They put a list of 10 games that don't work, and it's some real stinkers, basically. I think the most high profile one was Hitman Go. There's also that Robinson Crusoe VR game, which is kind of newish, and it was one of the ones that had that special shooty gun VR attachment that wasn't just move controllers. But the list of stuff that isn't compatible is you don't care. Trust me, you don't care what those games are. If you have a disc-based console and you have a disc-based PS4 game, you can stick the disc in, it will work. If you own a game digitally, it'll just show up in the Games Hub on your console. And of course, if you have disc-based games and a digital edition PS5, too bad for you, because you can't use those, obviously. Is basically the crux.
So basically it works, which is all we wanted to know is it's going to work, because they were pretty confused. And I know a lot of people said, yeah, like this is what we were always going to get. And at one point, about maybe 6 or 8 weeks ago, they said 99% of games are going to work backwards compatible day one. But like a week before that, they said, oh yeah, like 100 games will work. And so it was never announced properly. It was just what people said in an interview, and they contradicted each other. So to have them come out and say, yeah, the second one is what we meant. Here it is legit, in a blog post or whatever they did, or tweeted it, or video.
PlayStation blog.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more legit. We know what we're getting. You can now safely trade in your PS4 for that excellent EB dollars, assuming your launch order didn't get cancelled.
Before you do that, though, if you want to play any of the games that you've played before, you need to make sure that your save games will transfer or have transferred over to the PS5 in some way, shape, or form. So the easiest way to do it, if you have a PlayStation Plus subscription, is to use the cloud-based save thing and just dump all your saves in the cloud. If you don't have PlayStation Plus, you can transfer saves from the PS4 to the PS5 using a LAN cable or an external hard drive, but I don't think it's as easy as just like grabbing save and putting on external hard drive. It might be. I can't remember.
No, I
You have
tried
to
to do this.
clone your entire hard drive, I think is how you have to do it.
So I've moved all my games to an external hard drive just so I can plug and play. And I could, I just selected select all, move all to hard drive. Super easy. It took a while, but 2 clicks. I tried to do it for saves, and there was no move or copy to external. So they said you could do it. I didn't read the instructions because I'm a classic millennial user. I just assumed I'd figure it out. I did not. But I have the cloud save, so I assume that's automated and I don't have to do anything anyway. But
you have to put things in the cloud save, I think.
Oh, it's not auto. It's not. Doesn't just do it.
No, because you only have a finite amount of storage. You have to choose which ones you want, as far as I recall. Because it's been a while since I've had to use cloud saves because I just play up here, not downstairs. But
okay.
I think you have to go and put things into the cloud. So make sure you check this before you get rid of your PlayStation 4s, people. And I know that you can. There's an option in the settings somewhere where you can basically just like clone your entire hard drive onto an external drive, and then you can't plug that into. Oh, I don't know if that's going to work then, because you can plug that into another PS4 and basically just like make that exactly the same as the one that you've just copied. But like it's not like piecemeal copying bits and pieces. It's like replace hard drive contents with external like copy. It's like a backup basically is the better
I'm going to have to read the instructions. I just assumed it worked like Xbox and it was all on the cloud. I didn't realize it was this Nintendo-esque. It might be on the cloud. It might not be. Oh, come on, Japan.
There's a PlayStation Plus menu where you can absolutely go to your games and say, put this into like manage into cloud storage. I don't think it does it automatically.
Okay. Let's be honest. There's only like 10 games I need my save for. I need the most recent ones. But I do like to keep it. I do like to have a game I played 10 years ago. I like to know I've got that save, even though I'm never going to play it again.
Well, so this is something that we kind of had to do on Xbox 360 in the move to Xbox One. You had to put your games in the cloud. And now, obviously, the Xbox One just does that for everything automatically. In the lead up to the Series X and S launch, Microsoft has made it so anybody who has an Xbox 360, regardless of their Xbox Live subscription status, can use cloud saves, which means you can move your Xbox 360 games to the cloud. You'll have to do it manually. But then everything else is in the cloud already. So saves are sorted. So it's the way that they announced that news with the Xbox 360 thing was kind of, to me, like the little like slap to the face of Sony being like, ha, we're making it even easier and it's free and it's not like a subscription based thing. But anyway.
Yeah, well, it was for a long time. Now we're going back 2 gens. If you haven't moved your Xbox 360 saves over yet, you don't care about them.
Well, I forgot to move my Halo Reach save apparently because I went to do Reach for all this backwards compatibility testing and I didn't have the save. But then again, I've played Reach through its like from start to finish on Xbox One, so I don't need my 360 save unless I want to go get some achievements or something. But first world problems, Ben.
Yep, there you go.
Is that all I think that's all the newsy stuff that's happened since.
Yeah, I don't think anything else has happened. Pretty much all that happens now is something goes wrong with pre-orders, and at some point, the consoles are just going to have to come out. And then we're going to have no more news on this show because that is our main talking point for the last 3 episodes.
Basically. Well, Outriders got delayed to February. That's news. Borderlands 3 next gen was confirmed for the launch day of the consoles.
Interesting, that one's a free upgrade, but NBA 2K is not. So
because it was built from the ground up on a new engine or something, which we have yet to actually see or believe. But
whatever.
I tried to download it. It's available to download technically, but then when I actually go to try to download it, it doesn't work. So I can't advise either way. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to even, who knows? I have to go look through all the embargo dates now because I'm very confused about what's happening. But hey, Ben, you have good news. I think you can share your news. Can you? Maybe you can't.
I don't think so. So I don't know.
Ben doesn't have any news, but he might have news
I'm not
soon.
sure. So we won't say anything.
Shit. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. It's fine.
It's not that exciting.
It's pretty exciting, but you'll have to wait until we know we can say
For
it
me,
or
it
not.
is not for you necessarily, because you could just look behind you. But for some of us, it's exciting.
I don't know what you mean, Ben. Well, I have some news in that vein as well, but if you can't talk about it, I don't think I can talk about it. So
this is riveting stuff.
Yeah, isn't it?
Things that we're unsure if we can talk about this.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not
Let's
that
talk
good,
about stuff
listener.
we
Don't worry
can.
about it.
Let's talk about stuff we can talk about then.
Let's talk about this console you've got right behind you that you can talk about, and that funky new controller which you really like.
It's the only reason I really like it is I like the weight of the Elite better, to be honest, but everything else about this is exactly like the Elite. It's the same look and feel and comfort, and the D-pad's amazing. It's a little less weighty, but like that's not really a big deal. And it has that all important share button. And so far, because we can talk about UI now, I thought I would be able to go into like the Series X menu and go to button mapping and take that profile button, which is exactly in the same spot as the new share button is. And just for comparison, it's right here if you're watching on the video. Literally this. The only thing that's different is it lights up with 1, 2, and 3 lights because you have 3 profiles that no one ever uses. You can't map that to a share button right now, which to me is insane because it's a button that you press and it obviously registers that you press a button. So until that happens, this is out the window. And this is my new jam because I love taking screenshots when I do cool things. And I love taking videos, especially if something goes wrong and I want to make fun of it later. So
that is a big shame. For a $250 controller, they've physically got the button. They obviously said that's a good spot for a button. Let's use that again for the share button. And it, as you say, it's not really used. I press it maybe once every 6 months. The only game I have a second profile for is Hitman because it has run and like LB, and I don't want it there because why would you have that as run? So yeah, like just have an option in the dash where you can change profile if you want, or on the Xbox Accessories app, like, and let you map that to something else. That would be really good.
Well, you can go to Xbox Accessories and map the new share button to do different things. So like right now it's press to screenshot, hold to video. You can change how that works. So I don't understand why you can't map the Elite to do the same thing. But as part of all this preview stuff, Microsoft has been like adamant that we say that the UI is preview and may not be final. I can't imagine it's going to change much, to be very honest, but maybe that's one of the things that we get as part of whatever comes out ahead of time.
It is a minor feature in that not many people have a Series 2 only. We're talking, it's not on the Series 1, that button, Elite controller. So very small minority of players. Most people are going to play with the new controller that comes with their box, but a big part of the Elite Series 2 was they said you can use this on Series X or whatever it was called at the time, next gen Xbox. So that was why we upgraded that. Now I'm kind of thinking I'm just going to have to wait for the version 3 for a proper share button on the best controller, because I still think I'm going to prefer Elite. I know you don't use the paddles on the bottom, but I have one on each, and I just replace left stick and right stick click, and I find it so much easier. Just hold it down to run, the other side, run, melee. And then I do have left stick click in set to screenshot. And the only problem with that is now and again, I forget. I always forget. I don't have it in muscle memory, so I don't remember that screenshot. And occasionally I accidentally press it and I take a screenshot of nothing. So it's not ideal.
Do you mean to run when you press it, or you just happen to press it?
No, I just either happen to press it or like something. Now and again, I'm into run. I've forgotten my own system. Very rarely, because I'm just so used to having it on the bottom now. More often it's because something's happened, like I've suddenly seen someone come at me, like a shooter or something that I try to kill, and in my panic I've accidentally pressed in the stick, and then like you get that slight second of lag, like when you take a screenshot, and then I die. So this isn't working for me. And
this new controller works on the Xbox One X. I was just trying it out. The one thing I forgot to try, and I probably should, like it definitely works like a normal controller does. You just pair it the way you normally pair. I've not tried taking a screenshot with the share button, but I reckon it would work. But I don't know if I need to do anything special. Like surely it would recognize that this is a new controller and has a share button.
Well, you could go into the Xbox Accessories app on Xbox One.
I haven't even checked. Yeah, I reckon it would work straight out of the box. I will check later on, but I reckon I wouldn't have to do a single thing and it would just work, which is cool.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's the controller. It's amazing. The UI, like you can see behind me, it's literally just the same UI. When you get to like a couple sub menus, like if you hit the hamburger button and then go to, like manage my game to move or copy or whatever you need to do, like the screens there are a little bit different, but like it's also like just
Pretty
so
much the same.
like yeah, it's barely noticeable. Something that is quite different is it's weird because this UI is like almost exactly the same, but then you look at the new iOS beta app, which is on Android. So you might already have it, to be honest. And
Yeah, I have 3 or 4. I have 4 Xbox apps on my Android phone. So one of them is the normal Xbox app. One of them is Xbox game streaming. So I use that to stream from my Xbox to my phone. One of them
yeah,
is Game Pass, and one of them is Xbox Beta,
well,
which I assume is what you're talking about.
yes, and it should really just replace all those 3 other apps that you have because
Yeah.
at least on mine on iOS, it has Game Pass in it. It has game streaming in it, and it's the Xbox app. So that's why you had 4. That's the 4.
Yeah, this is the fourth.
And it's the UI is a bit strange. Like I'm so used to because I use the iOS app all the time, and it was so different. Like it took me a little bit of time to get used to, but like now that I'm used to it, I love it because you can go in and like when I was waiting to review NHL 21, I went into the menu and found NHL 21 and just installed it to my Xbox, even though I didn't own it. And then when I got the review key from EA, it just like unlocked it and I was good to go, which was useful, kind of like preload without having to pre-order. The game streaming is off the hook insane, so good. I have an app called OneCast on my iOS device, and it was what I was using to do that game streaming to my phone like long before Microsoft made it happen. And it's a good app, but the quality of the video streaming between that OneCast app and what happens in the Xbox beta app now is just like night and day. It's so good. It's lag free. It's not jittery. It's stable. Um, and like stupidly, like Matt was sleeping and I was downstairs playing Xbox and I was too lazy when I heard him wake up to like go up and get up and hit the sound bar to have sound in Forza. So I just was super lazy and just started remote streaming to my phone, but I was still playing on the TV, but I just had my phone like providing the sound to what I was doing on the TV and it was like
Oh,
seamless. No, it was really cool
no
though.
lag at all, really.
No, like absolutely exactly the same. And I
Okay.
could have just picked it up and played from the phone instead, but obviously I had a giant TV and it was just like the Forza Horizon 3 car
It's
was
a
just
new
making a
level of
noise.
lazy. But
Well, yeah,
anyhow,
and it works perfectly. So there you go.
we've had that
Um,
app on Android for a long time, streaming. We don't have xCloud, obviously, but you can stream from your console officially. But that app's been called Preview for the whole time I've had it. So it has had a few issues now and again, but it's pretty much worked. Tell me in this app, where is achievements?
if you click on the app, and then this is riveting for people too.
Yeah, but I can't find it.
You click on your name, and then wait, I found it before. Damn it, maybe I didn't.
This is why I have not used this app and I still use the other one because I need to check my
Oh, you
Microsoft
know what?
Rewards challenge.
You might be right. Oh, I can't figure out where it is. That's the thing. And you don't realize it's gone until someone brings it up. Yeah, I know. I don't know. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Well, as you know, if you get 10,000 game score before the 19th of October and you press the button in Microsoft Rewards, you get 10,000 Microsoft Rewards points.
Did I press the button? I've done that. I want to go press the button.
Oh, you had to press the button before you started getting any achievements. You had to do the punch card at the beginning. Yeah.
Do you know how many? I have like 12,000. That's bullshit.
Yeah, you got 0 in this, but anyhow, it's
I
worth
got a
like
free
$10.
Xbox. I guess I don't need 10,000 rewards points. Like, what am I complaining
For
about?
some reason, though, I do want to chase that number because I can get it. Anyhow.
Well, I hit 500,000 in the day, and I'm
Oh,
very
let's talk
pleased with
about
myself.
that. That's an amazing.
Well, that's it. That's all there is to say about it, really. I have no life, and I have too many games and too much gamer score.
Yeah, that is.
And
crazy.
someone has like close to 2 million, or probably over 2 million right now. So like 500,000, not even like important in the grand scheme of things anymore. I remember when a million used to be important. That was like 10 years ago, probably. God, that's insane.
Well, 500 is still pretty good. You don't have to be the global best. Those people are full-time gamer score hunters. You've got other things to do.
Yeah, like play NHL. And,
yeah, exactly. Not a lot, but some other things.
And play Alan Wake and Auto HDR. That's the thing. Backwards compatibility, we've kind of covered it. I think I can't remember what we talked about last week, to be honest. But like load times are super good. It doubles frame rate where it can. Auto HDR is neat, but like I tried the test with Alan Wake because I thought it'd be a perfect game for it because like in the dark in a forest at night, theoretically HDR would make things kind of pop, even though it's still like dark. And it does that with the darkness bits. And there's like right near the start, there's kind of like this mist or like fog, and it's kind of like rolling across the screen, and that looks really cool. But then when you get to like really, really bright sources of light, the auto HDR kind of like goes insane, and it's just like someone is shining a light like straight into your eyeball, and it kind of washes everything out. So it's like it's good and bad at the same time. And I don't think you can turn it off. Like I know you can. Oh, I guess you could go and turn off HDR on your
Yeah,
entire
that's
Xbox.
annoying.
But yeah, like it's a game that kind of has it artificially put in. I'd like to see some sort of menu where you can kind of just say like, I'd like to keep HDR on, but like don't do it for me when it's not there. Like unless it's already there, don't put it on. But anyway, so that's a thing. That's pretty cool. We've only tried Dirt and Yakuza. Did we talk about those last week?
No, they
No,
weren't
we couldn't
allowed
have.
yet. So Dirt was your first ever next gen game on next gen hardware.
How
And
disappointing.
yeah, but it does have
And then
some
Yakuza
interesting
was
things.
second. How also disappointing. Like both those games are not my jam.
No, and they're both not really next gen games. They were made for the last gen and they've moved across with a little bit of prettying up at best. So
Well,
these
that's
are
every
not,
launch game though for the Xbox Series, to be honest. But
it's
hey.
pretty much every launch game for every console ever. Like it's
Oh
pretty
yeah.
rare that you
Except
get
for
something which
Destruction All
was,
Stars on PS5, the game that everybody is talking about. Probably not.
yeah. Well,
No.
even when things are exclusive to the new console, they would normally started life for a different console and they moved over at some point. So it's a couple years in before you really get to see it. But what we did learn from your preview is how I think a lot of games are going to approach this, and they're going to give you the choice. What do you want? Do you want focus resolution, focus frame rate, get the best of both of them, which I think is what we're mostly going to do? Or in the case of Dirt, do you want to try a 120 frame mode, which is obviously going to come at the expense of resolution? I think it goes down to 1440p if you do that.
Well,
But you
yeah,
have options.
that's only because I only have a monitor. Well, that not be only because, but it was definitely the case in my case because I only have a monitor that can do 120 frames because it's 1440p. So I couldn't have had 120 anything higher because that's just how my displays work.
Even so, even if you have a 4K TV, it does drop down to 1440p. That's the hit
I would
that you
imagine.
take.
Yeah, like you're getting you're taking a hit from graphics to put into the frame rate. And on my monitor, because it's not well, I guess that's pretty much any monitor because I'm running in 120 frames at 140 at 1440p. I like HDR turned off. So you can tell that 120 is smoother than 60. To me, it's not like as like going from 30 to 60, you're like, whoa, geez, like you can really tell. And going from 60 to 120, it's not as impressive. Like you can tell, but it's not as
Yep.
impressive. So I kind of decided I was dead set I was going to do 1440p 120 frames, like that was going to be my jam. And like I've done a lot of video recording and I can't record in 120, so I was using the 4K 60 frames as my like recording one. But then the more I'm playing that, the more I kind of just like it more because it has the HDR, it's still pretty smooth and it looks really good.
Yep.
And like something like Dirt, you can kind of tell. Even like Avengers, I think Avengers has been updated already, so like you can play in 4K or frame rate, and like you can sort of see a visual difference when you go to frame rate. Like it kind of gets a little teeny bit muddier, but like doing that in Avengers on Xbox One, it's like mud, or like you can see Iron Man when you pick those two extremes. And this one, it's like it's almost exactly the same thing. So it's like we have power now, and that's cool, but it's also I think we're going to get used to it very quickly, and it's going to just become
Yeah,
like
we
we're
will.
going to take it for granted very soon, which is good though. Like let's use the power. Hurrah.
It's well, you get the choice. It is confusing for users because so you need to have HDMI 2.1 TV or probably I don't know if there's any monitors with that yet.
Nah, as far as I know, there's
To
not, or they're
do
super expensive.
that's to do 4K 120, ideally with HDR to
Yeah,
even have the capability. Now, no devices actually do that yet. So the
and I
Series
don't think
X
a
will be
lot
the
of
first one.
games are going to be able
No,
to
but
do
so
that.
no one's actually tested this. So I have the LG B9, which is the first generation with HDMI 2.1. And there are some people saying that no, the C9 has HDR capability, but the B9 didn't. That's one of the only differences between them. LG themselves said, no, they can both do 120 4K HDR. No one's been able to test it. There is no device that can do that. The first one that can do it is the Xbox Series X. So no one knows for sure if you will be able to use HDR. Very confusing.
I think Ryan McCaffrey at IGN. Sorry, I hit my
Some of them
controller.
would have tested it by now,
Well,
actually.
I think he said, because I was listening to their podcast, I think he said that Microsoft arranged to get special firmware from LG on his TV because it was the same kind of boat. So when you have access to an Xbox Series X, Ben, we should ask Microsoft if we can
see what he did.
check into that firmware so you can test
Well,
it.
presumably it would be
Informative.
coming for everyone. Maybe it's just not ready yet if he needed to get it early or something.
Yeah.
But yes, confusing. If you have a TV which is HDMI 2.0, you can still do 1080 or in some case 1440p at 120, but you need to go in your Xbox settings and change it to 120 mode. It probably won't be by default because you're going to lose 4K.
Yeah.
And then when you go into something like Dirt, it will give you the option. It won't let you choose that. So I kind of wanted the game to be able to set that. You better say, I want to play this 1080, 120, but you have to go into Xbox settings and change it. So that's quite annoying.
Yeah, and like it's just like you'd go into the Xbox if you wanted to switch between 4K and 1080 for some reason. Like that's the same thing with the frame rate. There's just like another drop down for frame rate. And I was being lazy and like unplugging it and plugging it into the 1440 and then unplugging it and plugging it back into the 4K without setting the things. And eventually, like I gave my Xbox a heart attack. So if you are going to be switching between monitors and stuff, I would advise doing the right thing and going through the menus so you avoid a lot of heartache and hassle.
Something which they might be able to change in the future. It would be great if you decided for some reason, I want to play everything in 4K 60, except for Dirt, which I want to play in 1080, 120. You could just set it to be like, this game, I want to be that, but everything else, I don't. So obviously that's super minor feature, something which most people will deal with, but it's something which they could add in later. This is the main thing to fix that share button.
No, they could map the share button or the profile button to have visual video mode profiles instead of controller profiles or something.
Well, they could just let us do anything with it, because the Xbox Accessories app is really good. Like, it lets you choose anything. They've already got a physical solution to this problem. Anyway, we've been harping on about it. They just seem to have
God, like that's all we want. God damn it, Microsoft, just give us what we want. Yeah. What haven't we talked about? Oh, I figured out how home console works in case anybody
this is useful if you
does
have multiple
game sharing and stuff. Yeah, well, so the way that our house works is that my husband is downstairs and we'll use the Xbox One scenario. Like we have two Xbox Ones. I log into mine and play games and I own them, so that's fine. The console downstairs is the home console. So I own all the games, but Matt can log into it without me being connected to it because it's home. And he can play any game. He has access to my Xbox Live Gold entitlement and he has access to my Xbox Game Pass entitlement. So he can basically do anything I can do. Ta-da. If you get an Xbox Series console and bring it into the mix, it doesn't really matter. You just treat the consoles like they're Xbox. You make one home, and that's the one that gets all the entitlements. And if you had another home console before, that one no longer is because you've made a new one home, and that's just how it works. So just treat the consoles like Xbox, and you're fine. The same thing kind of works to some extent with how you do extra things. So you can have an Xbox One and an Xbox Series X connected to two screens like I do behind me, and you can log in with your gamer tag to both consoles at the same time, and it's not a big deal. But you can only play a game on one gamer tag at a time. So if I'm playing a game on the Xbox One and then I want to play something on Series X with the same gamer tag, the Series X will just pop up a little screen that says, you're playing something over here. Do you want to play on this console instead? And you just say yes, and it logs you out of that game on console number one, and you're playing on console number two. And I guess the only other thing to keep in mind, because you might be like weird like me, you may know that you can log into a PC with your gamer tag and play a game and log into an Xbox console with your gamer tag and play a game at the same time. That's still fine. It's just you can't, like, just treat your Xbox like it's an Xbox console. Doesn't matter if it's a One, a Series, doesn't matter. Like, that's it, and then you're good.
Home. Good to confirm.
Stuff that you probably knew or expected, but now it's definitively answered. Ta-da.
Well, a lot of people do game share with someone else. So even if they don't have two in their own house, a lot of housemates do it, a lot of siblings do it.
Yep.
Where you and the other person actually swap, and they have your home console is their console. So they can play all your games because, of course, you're logged in somewhere else. Pretty smart idea, but you just need to remember that you need to swap that over. Yeah. So there's a little bit of admin work if you do it in that system.
Precisely. And that's what, like, I think I'm going to get my nephew a new console, and his console is the home console, but it's set up under his dad's gamer tag, and his dad lives in a different house now, and he plays same kind of idea. So what I'll have to ship my nephew a console, and then he'll have to turn it on. I'll have to coach him how to make to log in as his dad, I guess, and then make that the home console so he can still play games. Anyway,
we can
there
sort
you
that
go.
out. That's easy.
Other preview stuff. It's not hot. It doesn't make any noise. Stuff that we kind of knew,
that's
but
the end of the scandal that it was
well,
heating
yeah,
up.
I don't understand where that even came from, those rumors, but it's whisper quiet. My computer makes more noise, and I'm not even doing anything on my computer at when I'm playing a game. I can hear my computer fan, but I can't hear the Xbox One fan. And it's the air that comes out of it is warmer than room temperature, but it's by no means hot. It's you're not scalding yourself on the fan. It's fine.
I think that came from people who put it probably upright, very tight in an entertainment unit, so it was blasting air directly on the shelf, 2 centimeters above it, and heating up the whole area. That makes sense. Like people who put their console on top of another console, you're just going to cook them together, basically.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah, you need a lot of ventilation.
You shouldn't even complain. Exactly. So that's why, I think you and I both said last week that we have to put our consoles in a different arrangement so the Xbox blows air out and not into the middle of the entertainment unit. But
yeah, I've got to swap. It needs to go on the right now. It was always been on my left. But that's all right. I can deal with that. I'm happy to make an adjustment.
Well, and that's why this one's sitting not where the light box is. That's where I wanted it to go, because the extension or the power cable wasn't long enough, and I didn't want to put an extension cable in the mess of cables that I already have going on over there. I think I took a picture the other week and people almost had a heart attack because the cable management is so poor. But
looks good where it is. I like this system, the light box and the Xbox together.
Well, the light box is probably eventually going to get replaced by a PS5 because I don't know where else it's going to fit, to be honest. So
yeah.
Anyway, don't have a PS5. Don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe on the 12th of November. Who knows? I don't know if there's anything else I want to talk about, Ben. Is there anything that I didn't mention? I think I kind of covered it all.
I don't think so. I think that's pretty much all you've covered. You played some next-gen games. You played a lot of old games. You like the controller.
Yeah. I had notes. I can't remember where they are. And we're going to play a whole bunch of new games soon. There's a list, and it's not like it's under embargo by the time this podcast comes out, but I forget what the list is, and I don't have it on me. Tons of games like Gears Tactics, Gears 5, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. A whole bunch of games are confirmed or will be confirmed, I guess, by the time you hear this, as optimized for Xbox Series S and X. And that just means more games to test. It's kind of a weird thing, though. I feel like in terms of the console review, I'm pretty much done. There's not a lot of stuff I can talk about anymore about the console and performance and stuff. And it's kind of shifting now to review Gears Tactics. It's I already did on PC, and I guess it has a controller now, but there's not going to be a huge amount of work to do with that. Review Gears 5 again. Why? I did. It was good. Now it's better, but it's still the same damn game. That's going to be weird in the lead up to November, I think now.
It's an unusual console launch, but it's also still an exciting one. You get to use that 4K TV if you got one properly for the first time. The One X did to a degree, but look, it struggles a lot with frame rate. So yeah, it's a good time. You see things like Assassin's Creed Unity is running finally this proper frame rate, and you kind of see oh, these consoles tried, but they did not get there. Maybe some of these buggy games are not as bad as we thought they were at the time. The hardware just couldn't keep up. So you're seeing some decent benefits way beyond what I can really even understand. But when you just kind of see the massive frame rate spikes and how things are loading a lot better, that's what we're getting this generation.
And then we get it by the time November comes around, they're not next gen exclusives, but we're gonna have things like Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed, and Cyberpunk's not far behind. So it'll be a weird dip between now and then, but then it'll get really good by the time these consoles come out. So
thank God for Ubisoft, because they have about 5 games which are actually optimized for the next gen consoles in the first 3 months, and without them there would be almost no games. Yeah. So none of them, they're all cross gen, but at least there's something.
Valhalla is really cool. We had a chance to look at it again over the week. I didn't do any of the stuff we did last time. Instead, I just hung around the settlement and hung out with dogs and gave them a good pet and played dice games and put on some tattoos and stuff. So if you feel like watching a video, it's there. And I think we're doing another Immortals Phoenix Rising thing soon, which is the Zelda
That's
Breath of the Wild clone, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks cool.
Yeah. And it'll be smooth, silky smooth on Xbox Series X or whatever else.
Only other thing I've seen someone post, it was Digital Foundry as usual, that I haven't seen elsewhere, is about loading times on external SSDs. So because any non-optimized game does not use the velocity architecture, you're not getting any benefit out of having it on the internal drive except for the speed.
Yep.
So if you plug in a decent external SSD, you can get pretty much the same loading times off of those for a fraction of the cost of the little memory card unit. Exactly. So that's something to think about. I'm probably not going to do that. I think I'm just going to fork out the $359 and get a plug-in external drive so that I can use both optimized games and old games, and I'll just put what I'm playing on there. But if you're someone who wanted like a 2 terabyte easy access to pretty much everything out now and everything for the first year or so that you can play, and you don't care about not playing the optimized version, that is probably a way to go, just as an option, because you still get like instead of a 50-second load time, you get like the 8-second load time. You get the speed advantage.
Yep. And if you have a external, like an old external hard drive that's slow, and you have all your Xbox One games and stuff on it, every other benefit of the Xbox Series console will be at play. So you won't have an increased loading speed, but you will have quick resume. You'll have increased frame rate. You'll have auto HDR if it applies it. All those other bells and whistles. The only thing that you won't get from an external hard drive that's not an SSD or using an SSD internally or the expansion card, the loading time is the only thing that doesn't come across. So like if you can be bothered waiting a minute for Forza Horizon 3 to load, you still get all the other stuff. You just don't have to take up space on your 1 terabyte storage for now.
So you've got a few options. It's not just the one thing that you can do. It's if you want loading speed but for a lower cost for only the older games, you can do that. If you're happy to wait 8 minutes, or 10 minutes, you can copy over most games from a clunky old hard drive to the external drive or the expansion port and get the advantage. So it depends what you want to do. I think that's what I would do. I'm just going to leave the 5 games I'm currently playing on there and the rest on my 12 terabytes of plug-in hard drives.
Put your favorite games on for increased loading and then leave the rest on an old hard drive. We did data transfer tests. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but like the most impressive one, obviously, because it's all SSD. We did averages for the time it took to transfer a gig, and from the internal SSD on the Xbox Series X to its 1 terabyte expansion card, it was 1 gigabyte per 1.1 second or something like crazy like that, like 1 point something seconds. I think from my USB 3 just non SSD external hard drive, it was I think a gig every 11 seconds or so, which isn't too bad. And then, but if you had to take a game from your internal SSD and move it back to an old school hard drive, external hard drive, it was like 1 gig for every 36 seconds or so. So, like do it overnight, set it for the next morning or something if you want to move stuff around, and just kind of like forget about it.
There are options.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I have anything else to say about the Xbox Series X.
Now we're in that fun point of waiting, and we hope people get their pre-orders moved up. Who knows what's going to happen now? Something terrible will happen by the time we're back.
The heat death of the universe. Trump gets reelected. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that can happen, Ben.
Well, I mean, some pre-orders will get canceled. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah,
Trump will get elected, and in his first act as the continuing president will cancel your pre-order. Just everything will happen at once. If you have questions, send them through. I don't know if we can answer them. I'll try to be honest and tell you if you have to wait or if I can answer them, and I'll be happy to. And you might give me a good idea to write an article or something. So I'll thank you for that and do it. And Ben might have some good news later on. Do you want to talk about the good news that could happen next week, or do you want to leave it a surprise for people?
No, let's talk about that, because this episode has been a minor update on Xbox Series X, because we talked about a lot of this last episode. This was just more of we can talk about a small amount more. Not a big episode, but next week.
Did I do a horrible job and just repeat myself the whole hour? Is that what you're?
Yes. But no. An exciting episode for regular listeners of the show, going back 6 or 7 years before we had like a 4-year hiatus. We are potentially getting back former Friendly Fire Show regulars, Tano and Shane, who were on here. That was back when this was a Stevivor/MMGN podcast. So we had Shane from Stevivor and Tano from MMGN. as it turns out, basically one is heavy Xbox, one is heavy PlayStation, so it's a good mix. And we're hoping to do a Xbox One review of the whole generation next episode, and then a PS4 review of the generation episode after. Hopefully we can get both of those guys for both episodes, because
they've both confirmed, but if you know Shane and Tano, that doesn't actually mean they're going to be here.
they've been invited every episode that we have rebooted for the last year or so, or 2 years, however long it's been.
Yeah.
So they haven't come on yet, but they're very excited to look back. It's kind of like getting a guest star back, after they've left 4 seasons ago for the finale. But we're not ending. We're just bringing them back. And it'll be fun to look back, because those consoles both had interesting lives, and to go back over what we liked, what we didn't like, how the whole generation went. That's where we should go before we move on officially to the Series X and PS5.
And it's far more interesting than having me talk to you about how Gears 5 is a little bit faster or something. So
yeah, so there's going to be no technical chat. There's going to be no hard drive speeds. There's going to be none of that frame rate talk. HDMI 2.1, none of that next episode. If this one bored you to death, this is as technical as we will be until launch, maybe, when we have to talk about it.
And because it's Xbox next week, I can talk about my NHL 21 review, because I'm sure you guys will love that. So there you go. I can tell by the look on your face, because this is a video medium now, Ben, that you're not pleased with that idea.
Well, I'm not sure that's a look back on the generation. You can talk about NHL 14 or something. We've got to look back.
Well, it has to be a look back, because it's not coming out on the new ones. So it's like, anyway.
Anyway, I think you just put off the listeners. We will cut that off the end of the episode. It'll be a bonus material.
Fair enough. How do we find you on the internet, Ben?
I am Ben_Salter on Twitter. I think it's up here on the.
I do that now, and I'm Wright AU on the internet too.
And that's us for this week. Hopefully we can talk about, we've got Xbox One and PS4 the next 2 episodes. At some point, hopefully we can talk about the PS5, because we're not blanking it. This is not an Xbox only show. We just have not had any access to the PS5, as the whole world hasn't really. So, except for Hungry Jack's, because they do have some to give away. They seem to get them pretty easily. Or 50. Burger King.
So, but who knows? You might get an email saying you won one of the PS5s, and then they'll send an email the next day saying, "Oh, sorry, we lied." So
yeah, you didn't get bumped up.
It's been that year.
Yeah.
We will see you next week.